Hey forum, my name is Manny, aka CascadeScents. Welcome to another video. As you see by the title, this one is on my top 5 things I love and hate about the fragrance community. And to be fair, hate is a strong word. I really don't mean any malice by this type of video. If anything, it's more like things that bug me at the very least, I guess. And no, I'm not finna take shots at anyone specifically in this video as well. And to be fair, I just feel like a lot of this you guys could actually empathize with. Like if I were to take myself off of YouTube, I'd still feel equally strong about these things both ways. So whether it's things that I felt more back then and or right now, I still am passionate for these subjects, so hopefully you guys can get something out of this too. But we might as well get into it, shall we? Counting down as far as the first thing that I love about the fragrance community, and that is its super passionate members. You guys are great. I love how everyone is so enthusiastic about this scented liquid that just simply puts a smile on our face. It's just a really nice pick-me-up, of course. I don't necessarily feel like I have to shout with the rest of my outfit or my body language or anything like that. It's more like I can just put this on and kind of tell the world how I'm feeling that day with it. They might not understand it, yada yada yada, but then again, it's not always about that for some people, and I just think it's a really cool way to be able to express yourself when we often can't do that as much with the restraints of having uniforms among other things, if that makes any sense. So I genuinely think that that level of passion that we all feel respectively for fragrance for whatever reason is really, really special, and that's why it is on this list. Anyway, we might as well look on the flip side now, talking about the first thing I hate though about the fragrance community. Again, hate's a little bit of a strong word, more like dislike, and that is the sensitivity. And this sort of stems from the level of passion that everyone feels for fragrance here. Again, I think that's really, really good. But just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you have to get on someone with potential retribution on your mind just in case they don't like what you are wearing. Again, if someone doesn't like the scent that I'm wearing, I'm just thinking to myself, hey, more for me. So I'm not finna be really angry at angry reviews or comments on some of my favorite scents just because I don't give a shit, and I don't think you should too. I'm not saying be dismissive of other people's opinions straight up. Definitely converse, definitely have discourse about fragrance in a preferred and critical manner, but that's just it. Just because someone has something critical they have to say, or constructive even, about some of your favorite scents doesn't also mean that they have it out for you, and doesn't mean that they're necessarily wrong either. A lot of this is subjective at the end of the day. So I definitely genuinely do wish that we all had a little bit thicker of skin, especially on the internet now in 2021 with us spending more time here. So yeah, let's just toughen up in this regard, please. But we might as well move on to the number 2 thing that I really love about the fragrance community, and that is the focus on quality and or blend quality, ingredient quality, performance versatility, or even feedback. I feel like since everything is invisible and whatnot, it's hard to stick a logo onto it or a brand name, or people less care about that kind of stuff. So overall, I just feel like people in the fragrance community just care for the most part if it's good in one of those respective ways. So again, this is something that could potentially annoy me on the flip side in other hobbies that I'm in, just because brand name recognition really, really matters there. And again, I just think it's cool to not be so hell-bent on status here in the fragrance community. So great on the fragrance community as far as keeping an open mind in this regard based on whatever level of quality or attributes in fragrances that you're looking in for, regardless of logo or brand. So if it's good, it's good. If it's whack, it's whack. Keep up the good work. But with that being said, we might as well move on to the flip side, the number 2 thing I hate about the fragrance community, and that is elitism. And this goes both ways. I'm just not talking about the really expensive niche whores out there who are rocking $800-900 Rojas and whatnot. I'm also talking about the elitism on the lower level, and this shit also disgusts me too. I get you being proud of, you know, maybe your $25 Nautica and whatnot. Yeah, that stuff smells great for the value that you can buy it for. But just because your criteria of value is different than someone else who might prioritize other things when it comes to buying their fragrances for themselves, I just genuinely don't think it's a good conversation to have with someone if you are going to get riled up about it. And admittedly, this was me once upon a time, believe it or not. I know I kind of get this gimmick put on me as far as someone who typically likes expensive taste and whatnot, but I was a whore for value at one point too, and I don't say that pejoratively. And I remember kind of waving that in people's faces when I first started in this community way back when, like even off YouTube like 10 years ago or something like that. But no, I didn't have to be that in retrospect. It's just not nice. And if you're going to be hell-bent on one facet of buying fragrance and potentially being an elitist about that, I just feel like it's going to be harder to sleep at night. So you might as well enjoy things for yourself. Yeah, there's great subsects of the community that might be into this, might be into that and whatnot. But let's be understanding and cognizant of the fact that we can, again, all like fragrance for different reasons. So yeah, if you're a brand name snooty elitist, and or if you are perhaps a lower level value elitist, just try knocking it off. I'm pretty sure you might enjoy yourself even more. Anyway, moving on to the next thing I love, number 3, and that is people here are extremely helpful. Again, this kind of stems from point 1 in how passionate we are about things. But here's an example. If you go onto a forum for fragrance and or a Facebook group, I think people are finna be really straight up at the end of the day. At least that was my experience all these years. For the most part, I haven't been dicked around with. So here, let me get specific. We're talking about, say, if you post an ISO post, which stands for in search of, if you didn't already know, someone might pull up and give you an actually fair price rather than trying to make hella profit off of you. So to get that gimme fair pricing is just such a blessing, just because for me, I'm really not used to that. In potentially other communities that I'm in, I just feel like we're always just trying to make a buck off each other, so that's kind of unfortunate. And I'm not anti-capitalist. I genuinely think you should get your money whenever it's warranted, but I do think there is something to be said for selflessness here, and I feel like I get a lot of it in this community, or I see a lot of it rather. So again, good job everyone. So on the flip side, we might as well move on to the number 3 thing I hate about the fragrance community, and that is how we are so hell-bent on compliments, or at least talking about them rather. And this is something I mainly see from the men over the women for obvious reasons. It's also another reason that I see people be elitist about, because if they for whatever reason feel like they can't get an unsolicited compliment that something is not worth wearing, I think that's absolutely asinine. And I get it, scent or smelling is such a carnal sense, so I don't necessarily blame you for wanting positive feedback, because I think it's only natural. But I think once you educate yourself on the world of scent, I also think it's kind of healthy to look at it kind of like you would anything else. Like, I'd rather be complimented on my personality than my fragrance is what I'm saying. And again, you can be into fragrance for whatever reason you want. It's just I feel like people genuinely lose sleep over this criteria specifically, so maybe today's a new day to start doing something else, that's all. Anyway, we might as well move on to the next love, shall we? And this one is accessibility. For fragrance is incredibly easy to obtain. No, I don't want to hear some shit like you're in middle America and you don't have any stockists around you or whatnot. Most stockists ship worldwide. Most gray market discounters per se also ship worldwide, and especially here in North America. Yeah, it might not be the coolest thing to not be able to test stuff rather, but again, point 3, when it came to loves, someone's probably able to hit you up with a sample or maybe a decant or something like that of something they already own. There's always a way to try stuff, and then once you are actually sold on whatever you've tried, buying stuff is just super fucking easy. So at the end of the day, I just feel like people are a little bit unreasonable with their lack of accessibility when it comes to fragrances, because if you were to get into anything else, like when it comes to certain things fashion wise, like sneakers for example, or accessories and watches, you can't just go into stores like that and be like, hey, I want this at any time. No, things are often released in limited drops, and there's way more demand for those types of things. Meanwhile, fragrances are overproduced and there's now a whole lot of demand for them, so of course stuff is stuck at retail, and if not, a lot of that stuff gets liquidated to the gray market, and gray market resellers end up selling a lot of that stuff for often discounted rates. So no, stuff here in the fragrance community isn't remotely inaccessible, and it's super affordable in comparison to other luxury goods, so what can I say? But yeah, accessibility is overall a good thing, so we might as well keep it moving. So here we go on the flip side as far as hates again. My number 4 thing I hate about the fragrance community is the bigotry. Believe it or not, I still see too much misogyny, homophobia, Islamophobia for my liking. Just saying, some people out here are dinosaurs and it's just really fucking sad. And no, I still want to approach people who have these attitudes with a little bit more delicateness and or sensitivity, just because at the end of the day, they are people too, despite how wrong it is that they feel these ways about certain people. I feel like if they were understood, they would also learn and also want to help cultivate this fragrance community with some of the best people I know, who also so happen to be religious, like in to Islam or who so happen to be part of the LGBTQ plus communities, or women in general rather. And in retrospect, I also think to why I see such behaviors within this community come out is because those groups are so prominent within this community in comparison to other luxury goods communities that we all might respectively be in. And again, to a certain extent, I'm in or have dabbled in other communities like watches, sneakers, even beauty. But again, I rarely get those outbursts in those communities for whatever reason. I still feel like I see a few of it in here. If you experience otherwise in this community, I would love for you guys to tell me in the comment section below genuinely. But let's look back on the lighter side of things, going to the number 5 reason to why I love the fragrance community, and that is that very diversity. I met some of the coolest people in this community who aren't also a straight cis male Filipino Canadian like myself. Like around the world, I pretty much have friends in every region. I think that's really cool. I enjoy learning about their interests in fragrance and thus learning about themselves as well, because they also tell me why they so happen to like certain things. So naturally, I also get to learn about their lifestyle, and I think that's really, really cool. But of course, I'm blessed enough to be able to do that as a YouTuber. But when it comes to maybe your own personal respective local fragrance communities, I'm still certain that you'll run into a lot of people who aren't you that you will enjoy learning about as well, and or finding some of your favorite fragrances. So again, I think the world would be a lot more boring if we were all the same and shit. So it's really cool to have that level of diversity here. But not to end off on a sour note, I want to get into the number 5 reason I hate the fragrance community. Again, hate's a really strong word, and this is something I don't really resent people for, but wish that they maybe overcame a little bit more, and that is people are hella shy. Some of you guys I've met around here online I know to be pretty cool, and I'm kind of close with some of y'all, but for whatever reason, some of you guys have things going on, you don't want to meet other people, especially during this pandemic, which I understand. But say even beyond that and whatnot, I don't want people to feel apprehensive about meeting other people about things that they also love. A lot of people who go to fragrance meetups, trust me, are some of the least judgmental people out there, and we're just simply happy that you took the time out of your busy schedule to actually pull up and want to mingle with one of us, or all of us rather. So if you really love something, if you really love fragrance, and I believe fragrance is meant to be shared, I also think that you'd want to see other people about it too. That's all. So don't be shy, get a hold of your local fragrance community via Reddit or via Fragrantica or Facebook. Do something, just because I think you may or may not, who knows, meet some really cool people and potentially some of your best friends. And if you don't, at least you had the courage to try. But hey, hopefully that about does it for me. Hopefully none of this came off as remotely malicious to anyone. These are just things that I actively have on my mind, regardless of if I was making YouTube videos or not. So hopefully some of you guys could also see that and empathize with this. And if you guys also, again, have anything to add, I would love for you to tell me. I would love to know. Let me know in the comment section below. If you guys really enjoyed this video, as always, leave me a like. It really helps this channel out. And if you really enjoyed this video, also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be amongst the first to be on content like this in the near future. Up until the next one, I think that about does it for me. Thank you for the ongoing support for them. Take care for now. Peace out. Bye. My name is Manny. Where are your fragrances?